Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Knitting Teaspoon podcast. I am Lisbeth, your host, and this is a podcast which is all about knitting and some other crafts. There's only been sewing apart from knitting this week. Thank you so much for joining me. It really means a lot. I feel like I completely forget to mention this almost every single time right from the beginning, but it means so much that you're taking some time to check out my podcast, sometimes leave comments. That it really means a lot to also be a little bit in touch with you guys, to know what's going on in your life. So I really wanted to share that. I really appreciate this because this, after all, is the goal of my podcast, to get in touch with the knitting community and crafting community in general. So I really appreciate it that you take some time to check out this podcast and to give me some feedback every now and then. So yeah, thank you. It's really been appreciated. So I would like to start with two elephants in the room, I guess. I don't think I've worn this top before. I'm not really sure about this actually. But this is my silver and grey top. I know it's not really silver and grey in my case, but this is a top that I've been test knitting for a friend of mine, Sandra Archut. I don't even know how to pronounce her next name. I should ask her. I've only seen it written and I just call her Sandra. So, but she's wool machine designs on Ravelry, and this top is out for purchase for quite some time now actually, but I haven't seen fit to wear it. But I was test knitting it while I was already doing this podcast, so in the past 4 months, I believe. I think actually I was around the time when I was having my wisdom teeth removed. But this is a very fun summery top, which explains why I'm wearing it now, and I wasn't wearing it a few months ago. But it's knit out of Laguna yarn, which I believe is discontinued by now, which is quite unfortunate if you're designing a garment and then the yarn for which you've designed it gets discontinued right away, because it's quite a special yarn. It's like a knit yarn, so it's very flat. It's very flat and broad yarn. Maybe like some shoelaces or something, and I believe it's a silk and linen and probably some other stuff blend. I can't really remember. Doesn't really matter because it's discontinued anyway. But maybe you guys still have some or know where to find some. Probably some colors that are still available somewhere. And I believe this is a silk mohair blend from Drops, and I'm not really sure which one it is, but it's probably some kid silk, and it might just be the name, Drops Kid Silk. Don't know, could be. I could look it up. It will probably be here on the screen for you to correct me, as always, because when you start podcasting, you think you know what you're going to talk about, and then you forget all these things that you wanted to say, or just happens. So but that's okay. So it's quite a long top. It gets well below my bottom actually. So I really like that. And I really like the detail here that it just switches yarn here, and really simple to knit. So if you're out for a fun, quick and easy summer knit, this might just be the one for you. Who knows? And there's probably some other yarns that would work for this as well. So then you can maybe see, I don't know to what extent you can see it, but there has been some change in my background here. And that has everything to do with last weekend, because last weekend my boyfriend and I went out of our house like for something else than the supermarket for the first time since his surgery. So that was kind of special to, first night that we didn't sleep in our own bed after he's been sleeping in the hospital bed and at home for quite some time. So first we went to his parents, which was a lot of fun to see them, and they are so so supportive of us, and that's really nice. Yeah, we had a lot of fun there. His mom knits as well, so we had been watching some television. I've been knitting a little bit. She had been knitting a bit. We all watched television together, so it was good, I guess. The weather unfortunately wasn't so nice because we were planning on having a barbecue, but it wasn't the kind of weather when you would have a barbecue. So no barbecue, but that's fine. I don't really like barbecues anyway. So that is, I don't like meals that are very meat focused. I'm not a vegetarian, but I like vegetables. I really, really like vegetables, and in these kinds of meals, barbecues, a lot of people tend to forget about vegetables, and that makes me feel a little uncomfortable because then they expect me to eat like twice or 3 times as much meat as I usually would, and then suddenly they skip out on veggies. Not okay with that. But you know, that's probably just my kind of weirdness. I don't know. Anyway, so I wanted to share what this was all about, and this is not that much to do with his parents. It has to do with my grandparents. So on Sunday, we went to my grandparents. My grandfather turned 88 this week on Wednesday, so that's quite a respectable age, I guess. And my grandma is also still alive, and I think she's about to turn 86. I'm not really sure about that, but maybe I'm 1 or 2 years off there. She is younger for sure, so that much I do know about it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to be there. But she told me that she wanted to give me her Handwerken Encyclopedia. So that's, I don't know, a Handicraft Encyclopedia, which I have right here behind me now, and it is really awesome. It comes in 3 parts. They are these huge volumes of completely filled with handicraft stuff. So there's really a lot of topics in there. Of course, there's knitting, but there's also something about the materials, about spinning, about weaving, about yarn dyeing, about working with beads, about patchwork, about, well, about sewing, about several types of knots, about I don't know how you would translate this, but to weave baskets, that kind of weaving, or braiding maybe. So I really, really appreciate this. I mean, this is such a complete book. Of course, it probably doesn't tell you about how to do brioche. Maybe it does. I don't know. I haven't read everything yet. But yeah, it's such a treasure of knowledge that was there when my grandma was a lot younger than she is now. And I feel like a lot of these crafts, they tend to be a little bit forgotten, and that's really sad, I think. And it's really up to, well, us, I guess, to keep those traditions alive. And I really want to be a part of it. So having all the knowledge in a book, it's amazing. And I do know that my grandma is also very appreciative of me wanting to keep these traditions alive. So yeah, it makes me proud to be her granddaughter. Also, something that happened this weekend is I was there, and my grandma in her sewing room, which is upstairs. She still walks up and down the stairs by herself. I'm completely amazed by the fact that she can still do that at her age, and a little bit at her size, but did not say that. Well, out in her sewing room, she had her wedding suit hanging out. So she did not get married in a dress. She married in a suit because she wanted to be cool, I guess, or do something different than most people did. So back in the day, and this is 60 years ago, because recently I was at my grandparents because they celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary. And before she got married, she was a dressmaker, or suit maker, or garment maker. I don't think it was gender specific in particular. But back then in the Netherlands, it still was a man's job to do this. So she was quite the feminist in being a dressmaker. I think nowadays we don't really consider it as much of a man's job, but back then apparently it was. It's hard to imagine, I think. But she made her own wedding suit together with 3 other girls. That must be very old ladies by now, if they are still alive. And they decided that she did not want to marry in white because everyone already got married in white, and she had a black suit. And I tried on the suit, and it just fit perfectly. So that was really amazing. So she had made this jacket, and the lining in there, it was just a gorgeous fabric, and it's in such a good state still. And yeah, it was really amazing to try it on and to see that it actually fit. Also, well, because my grandma has gained some weight since she got married. It's hard to imagine that 60 years ago she must have had almost my figure. It seems weird to imagine someone that I've never known very slim. Apparently was a lot slimmer back then. But you know, it was fun that it fit, and unfortunately I didn't, or it's not really unfortunate, but I would have liked to have that suit, but my aunt also fitted, and she's got first rights. I mean, she's my grandma's daughter, and I'm just a granddaughter, I guess. So I don't want to argue about it in this. If my aunt wants to have it, it's hers. It's fine. But it was a lot of fun to play dress up. So I do have some pictures, but I don't think they are very good pictures. You can see that it fits, but not really. I don't think I wear appropriate clothes, and I don't really look right in other kinds of ways than for clothes. So I'm not sure if I'll share them. We'll see. Maybe you guys will see them now. I don't know. So that's been my adventure for last week. She also gave me these books behind here. Oh, and some coloring pencils that I still have lying around here. So this is a book series which is called Everything About Knitting, in Dutch, of course, because 50 years ago it was not that common for people here to be fluent in English. By now I believe that over 90% of Dutch people speak English as well. Not everyone at the same level, I guess, but there's quite a few people that speak more than one language. Back in the day, it was probably more common to know a little bit of German or French, depending on where you live in the Netherlands, because back then television was a big thing, and or coming up, and there were not that many channels on television. So people who lived close to the German border would have access to German channels. So if there were children's programs in German and there were not any Dutch ones at the time, then those children would watch the German television programs. Our languages are very similar, so that's quite possible actually. So I know for this reason my mom knows a lot of German, simply because she grew up quite close to the border and still quite a bit away, considering the size of the Netherlands. Everything is probably close to Germany in international standards, but you know. For us, it's far away. Anyway, so let's get into what I've been doing apart from visiting family. I have a finished object, and you guys will probably know which one it is, because I finished my Baldus Nistrumper. So these are the very high socks, and I don't feel comfortable in showing my armpits this way. But, you know, the socks are finally finished, so yay, I'm really proud of them. It's finally finished. It took me long enough to finish them, I guess. I did notice that, I don't know which one it is now. I believe it's this one. This is the newest one. I've even woven all the ends. That's something to be proud of, because I don't usually do that right away. But my gauge has loosened, so this one is definitely a little bit bigger than the other one. But I think that should be fine, because actually I would have liked the first one to be a little bit bigger on some parts, and I think it's a good thing that my gauge has loosened up a little, so that the second one is bigger. But it also makes me kind of worried for more projects that take me a little bit longer to knit, that it seems to be a thing that's going on with all my projects. So my blanket, for instance, that I've shown you recently, my gauge has loosened up there as well. And then there's some other projects that have new gauge. I don't know. I wish it was more consistent over time, so that I could be sure that whatever I swatch will also be the finished size of the garment. There's someone with a motorcycle outside that really likes to show off how fast he can go. So I finished these socks, and can't wait for winter to arrive to be able to wear them, because it's been hot lately. But I'm so happy that they are off the needles. It really gives some brain space to start working on something else, I guess. So they are finished. So they are out of opal and Fildar stock yarns. The white is opal and dark grey. I've called it black several times on the podcast, but it's actually dark grey, very dark grey. Yeah, and I still have plenty left over, but I'm happy that I bought an extra skein of the white at some point to make sure that I would have enough for finishing these socks. So really happy that these are done. It really was labor of love in the end, but they are finished now. I feel like I'm saying the same all over and over again, so finally finished. So excited. This happened on Saturday, so I was at my boyfriend's parents when I finished these socks, so I wanted to start working on another project right away. But I had something lying around to start a new project, because I felt like one pair of socks finished, then I can cast on a new pair of socks. So you guys will have seen here in the background, there was this hank of yarn, and it's by Baerenwolle here, a hand dyer from Germany. And I know that she recently stopped dyeing yarn, which I believe is a shame, because she dyed some gorgeous yarns. I've made another project. I've ordered 2 skeins of her in the same batch. One of them were for my Edinburgh festive socks, so the first pair of socks that I've made to design this pattern. So I knit them before the podcast started, but I was working on the same pattern again right around when the podcast started. And now I'm going to dye with this yarn, which is in the Mermaid colorway. So it's barefoot sock. It's her sock yarn. I say it's a shame that she stopped dyeing. That's just because I believe she was an amazing dyer, and I would have liked her to continue doing this. So I believe these are going to be a gorgeous pair of socks, and I've had this idea in mind to make some cable-y design, cable-y, lacy, I don't know, something mermaidy, because I thought a mermaid, yeah, a yarn called Mermaid calls for a design that's mermaid-ish. So I've had this idea in my head for, I think, 1.5 years, which is approximately how long I've owned this skein. But I'm about to start working on it, but as you can see, I haven't even cast on yet. So, I mean, this is the yarn end here. So, will happen very soon, I believe, but it hasn't happened yet. So, what I had been working on when I was visiting my grandparents was the cardigan that I'm kind of designing or making up as I go. So I've swatched for it a while back, and it's the seed stitch. I believe this is seed stitch. It's 1x1 knit purl, and then on the next row you switch so that there's in both directions. It's always knit purl, and both horizontal and vertical. And then there's a cable on the side, but it's not on the sleeves because the cable is going to be on the cardigan, like next to the button band, only there, because I thought, let's keep it easy. And then you start doing seats. Crazy, I know. But first sleeve is finished. I believe I only added some length. These stitch markers are not marking any point where I was before I put them aside a while back, but I was somewhere midway here, and then I cast on the second sleeve, just my project bag, and I've almost finished the first skein of yarn. This one is a bit messy now, but I'm okay with it being messy when it's at this point. I believe someone mentioned the name of this. I believe it's something like yarn barf or something, which I thought was was a funny word. Yeah, I'm quite a bit done with the second sleeve, so it's not that much longer to go. So once I've both sleeves finished, I'll start knitting the body. But I haven't started doing that yet because I don't know. Because I'm still working on the sleeves, I guess. I thought, let's get the sleeves finished first, because in a cardigan, I like my sleeves to be full length. And any length that I have less or more in the body doesn't matter that much to me, I guess. But when I have a cardigan that has too short sleeves, it really feels weird. Whereas a cropped cardigan, which ends lower or higher on your waist, of course it shouldn't end here because that would be very short for a cardigan. Then I would probably like its sleeves better. I don't know, but I think the length in the sleeves is very important for me. So I like them to be full length, and then 1 inch more or less on the body doesn't matter that much to me at this point. It feels like I'm trying to state this very correct in terms of law or whatever, and it just doesn't make sense because it's a cardigan that I'm knitting and designing for myself, so who cares? You know? So apart from that, there's been 2 more projects that I've been working on, and one of them is knitting and one of them is sewing. So I'll start with the knitting project first, and this is my blanket, and I'm yet again working on a square because I believe last week I had a square finished for my blanket, so now I have 1 more square cast on, and yeah, I'm already on the 4th color, so quite happy with the amount of progress that I got on 1 evening's knitting. So yeah, and I believe it's going to be a fun one because there's already 3 colors in here, and then just the white, like 1 neutral and 3 pretty bright colors, so that must mean that it's going to be pretty bright, which I like, so that's good. but I also like to tone it down a little bit with the gray colors that I'm using. So not much more to say about this blanket apart from this is Drops Fable yarn, the white, the red and the green, and the entire blanket is out of this yarn except for the purple, which I believe is Choppel Admiral wool, wool sock yarn. So it's just a different brand of sock yarn that did happen to have a bright purple that would go well with the rest of my blanket. I have been looking at the Drops Fable at the point, at least at the time that I was buying this yarn. They didn't have pretty purple, so I had to find some other yarn. Would have liked it to be all in the same color, and knowing now how easy it is to dye yarn, I mean, I think I have my prettiest purple somewhere else, but yeah, I have one with a very pretty purple color, and knowing how easy it was to obtain that, I would have dyed on my own skeins. But at that point, I didn't know, so who knows? Maybe my next blanket is going to be my own hand-dyed yarn. Who knows? Could be. I still have this kind of order in yarns that I put here are like higher on my priority list to knit with, except for one yarn that I really want to cast on soon because it's a lace weight yarn that's really fit for summer, I believe. But this Mermaid yarn from Baerenwolle, this one, has been on there because it has been on there because it was a kind of reminder to start working with that yarn, and now it's completely covered in my own hand-dyed yarn, which doesn't all need to be there because I don't have any plans to knit with it soon. So in my head, my next project is going to be this one. So after I have made something, or maybe when I've started working with this yarn, I want to start with the hand spun yarn that's behind me here. So this one. And then there is this skein from Lily Pond Yarns that I've purchased around my birthday gift to myself. Yeah, I really want to work with that, and I do have some lacy sock idea for it, so I probably should start working on it while it's still warm. Not that I have these lacy socks finished in winter, midwinter, and then do all the crazy colorway socks in summer. I don't know, but that's the kind of order that I have in mind, and from there I don't really know. Probably something lacy with this pink yarn. It's also Lily Pond Yarns. I do like your podcast. So that's kind of my yarny planning. And then apart from the knitting, there has been one sewing project, and you guys will probably know what it is, and it's some more bag making, because I'm still looking into opening an Etsy store. I did not do any research this week because with the job interview that I've had, I've been feeling kind of weird lately, because it feels like I have very much decided to quit my studies, but then at the same time it also feels like now I'm in a weird kind of process of waiting to know what I want to do. So on Monday I had my job interview, and I was quite nervous for it, but it went okay, I guess. Afterwards I've heard that someone else had already been rejected during the conversation, or during the interview, and they were interviewing 6 people in total. So I was a more suitable candidate for this specific job than the other candidate, but they are still interviewing people until, I believe, the end of next week, and by then I should know more about whether or not they want to hire me. So it's kind of a weird limbo. I don't know if this is a proper English word, but it's kind of an empty space where I'm not really sure what I should do. I mean, I've been looking at more jobs to see if there's something else interesting going on, because of course I can wait until next Friday or something, and if I would get a job, then that would be amazing, of course. But if I don't get a job, then I don't want to have to start the entire process from scratch again next week, obviously. But this left my brain in a weird kind of space where I don't know really what to do with myself. I've been a bit on edge, and also my boyfriend is doing quite well. He's recovering fine, but lately he's been at a point that he has had some pain. There's some muscles running here that help you to breathe, and they are so sore now because they have to work a bit harder for him to be able to breathe, that he can barely sleep at night. And if he doesn't sleep well at night, I don't sleep well at night. Because I don't know if you guys have partners that sometimes toss and turn in their sleeps. Well, if my partner does, I don't sleep. So it doesn't really work for me. Anyway, so I was working on these projects and these bags, and I have some more in various states of being finished. Actually, none of them are as close to being finished as this one is. But these are the seahorse fabrics that I've purchased a while ago, and I really like it. They look a lot of fun. And the other side is opposite. I decided to make it one fabric and then just do two different ones for the top. I decided to try something different, and then there's this beige lining fabric that I really like, but it still needs some top stitching to make it lie flat, because you can really tell the difference. I have the finished ones that are top stitched and everything here, and it's not because this fabric is so much thinner or something that it looks much more neat. It's the finishing. This has been pressed or ironed, and this one hasn't, and this one has been top stitched and this one hasn't. So those kinds of things, even though both almost seem like finished objects right now, yeah, I definitely think this one looks better. So still a little bit of work to do, but it's going to be fine. But I wanted to not open the shop yet before I had at least some more options to buy, because I don't know, I would feel weird being in a shop where there's only one type of product and then maybe multiple of the same, but that would be weird. So I don't know, maybe some of you guys would like this fabric better. And I'm also making them with a different type of lining. So this is a piece that I've already cut out but haven't done anything with yet. So this minty green cotton with the white grains, maybe? I don't know what you would call this shape, but I thought it was a very neutral something that would go well with these fabrics. Like here you can kind of see it. I thought it would look nice. So there's also going to be bags with this lining instead of the beige lining. So that's what I've been making this week, and I hope you guys have had a lovely week. Also filled with a lot of crafting and sewing and knitting, maybe some spinning. Spinning seems a lot of fun to do in summer. Tour de Fleece is coming up in a month or so. So, there's one more issue that I would like to ask you guys. I sometimes feel like you guys don't get notified when I upload a new video, because I upload every week and I make sure that my video is published on Saturday at 1 p.m. In my time zone. So I believe that's GMT +2 in summer. So not really sure, maybe it's +3. I'm not really sure, but it's always at a fixed time. apart from probably summer in March, where we switch from winter time to summertime, and in October we're going to switch back, so probably there will be a shift of 1 hour. But I've noticed that the pop-up that, or the notification that I've uploaded something, sometimes comes at a quite different day, like a few days later, which seems a little bit weird. So I don't know if you could tell me when you receive this message. That would be very nice. I don't know to what extent I can do anything about it, but I would like to know if you guys know this right away or not. Actually, it doesn't really matter that much, but still, it would be nice to know what's going on there. So, thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I hope to see you again next week. So,